What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podioslave podcast. My name is Tony. I am joined by Anthony for just about, 200 episodes. We're at number 200 today, which is fucking crazy, isn't it, man?
It is crazy. I was waiting for you to ask how I was doing.
No, I know how you're doing. Amazing, because we're doing this again.
Top of the world, baby. Top of the world. 200. This is 200. You know, we always say, like, what were our expectations when we started this 3-4 years ago, whatever. I don't know if I had any expectations, but if I was a betting man, which I am, I would not have guessed that we'd last to 200, because a lot has to go right. You still have to love it. You still have to have things to talk about. And I feel like, I still love it. There's still bands we have still not talked about on this podcast that we love. There's genres we haven't even scratched. There's albums we haven't talked about. There's friends we haven't pulled in. I think we can go another 200 is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not done. And there'll be more music to come out and things to promote and tours to go see and albums to review and listen to. And you know, I would not have thought we'd have gotten to this point, you know, almost 4 years in, 200 episodes in. It's definitely amazing that it's still happening, and I love it. I want to keep doing it every day. There isn't a day that goes by that I'm not like, that'd be fun for this. This would be a good thing to do in the podcast. Let's think about, you know, this person or whatever. It's always kind of top of mind because it's, you know, it's the passion project. It's the fun thing that we get to do, as Nate says, every week.
Well, you're right. It is a bit of a paradigm shift where you do think about things different. You're like, when I hear a song at the grocery store, I'm like, well, who sings that? And do we need to talk to them? And the answer is just typically in the grocery store, it's no. Right. But then it's like, you know, I see reunion tours. I see 20-year anniversary albums. I see all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, I remember at one point I loved this album and I still do. Let's dig into it. Or, you know, that story intrigues me. Or how'd they sign here? Why'd they sign here? I remember loving that band. I remember hating that band. That hasn't happened. We haven't talked to anyone that we've hated.
No, we've kept it really positive on this podcast for many reasons. There's enough negativity in the world, and yeah, we could go the gotcha route and the negativity route and all the bad things that are around going on right now, but it isn't fun for us to do that, and you can get that at other places. You don't need that from us. This is a place to come and listen and talk about music, listen to us talk with, you know, artists who have made said music. Like tonight, we got Tucker Rule back again to talk 20 years plus of War All the Time. Man, just so awesome. I can't. He is one of the nicest guys in rock, and we were told that by other guests that we've had on the podcast. You know, one of the coolest guys in rock. Brian Fair told us he's one of the coolest guys in rock, and he absolutely is. And tonight was no different.
I remember feeling that same thing when we chatted with him December 2021. You know, if you listen to the first episode, we're Legacy Thursday fans from 2000. I think it was 2001. Yeah, it was hearing, probably understanding on a comp or on MTV2, whatever it was. And we had that conversation about Full Collapse. And I remember leaving that conversation being a bigger fan. And that to me is what it's all about. Like he's down to chat. He's down to give you the how and the why, as we always say. And then for this 200, we were like, let's make it special. Let's think of a guest that either we've chatted with that would come back, or someone we haven't chatted with that would be really special. And Where All the Time is, when this comes out, it'll be 21, right? It came out
20 and some change, right? It was September of 03, so this is coming out in January of 2024. So it's a little over 20 years old, but the sentiment is the same, right? We're talking about 20 years past, and they're going on tour for it, which we talk about a little bit too at the end of the episode. So it's crazy that it's that old. It's crazy that this album happened, and all the things that Tucker's going to get into with us here shortly are really cool and interesting. And there's some stuff there that hasn't been talked about, which is cool.
And that's the thing, is if you're a Thursday fan, I'm going to put this out there. You will like Thursday and this record more after listening to Tucker's perspective and stories. And that's coming from someone who loves this record. Like, as I say in a lot of episodes, we could be talking about any album, we chose to talk about this one. We love it. We've loved it since 2003. We've pre-ordered it. We got it the day it came out. Tucker has enhanced that experience. And I'll say this, if this is your first episode as a result of Tucker, thank you. If you've listened to any of the last 200, thank you. If you've listened to a few and you're back, thank you. We do this because we love it. If anyone wants to tune in, that's gravy. That's icing on the cake.
Hell yeah. Anybody out there that has spent any time with Podioslave or Anthony, myself, and Nate and all the friends surrounding us, we truly appreciate that. So, yeah, really cool stuff. And, you know, hopefully here's to 200 more. Long live Podioslave and long live Thursday and Tucker Rule right now, baby.
Tucker Rule, round 2. You're back.
Yes. Redemption.
The real question is, do you remember the first time? Do you remember your first time?
I mean, no. But yes, of course.
You've done enough press. I'm sure it all kind of melts together. But yeah, it was one of our favorite conversations having you a couple years ago now to talk 20 years of Full Collapse. And we were like, in the moment, I think we asked you if you'd do We're All the Time with us. And I'm like, let's see if you actually will. And you were quick to say yes, man. And we are super appreciative of that.
So the answer is yes, I do remember. That's why I was so quick to respond.
There we go.
Nice. That makes me a little ego boost. I appreciate that.
So I looked because my memory sucks. We chatted with you back December 2021. And Tucker, there was no mention of Ellis Dunes in that convo. So you were cooking that up, but you didn't want to release it on the pod. You didn't want to announce it.
I mean, I get that.
It was hard to not talk about because it was fully in the mix. You know what I mean? Like I was putting all my time and energy into that. So it was just, you know, it was really hard to not talk about it, but I was a good boy and I did not.
We can appreciate that. And it's awesome. It's been fun to see that happen. You guys tour, put music out, put extras out, put demos out. It's been pretty cool, man.
Thanks, man. It's been a lot of fun. It's a labor of love. And, you know, this is what I wanted to do. You know, I love Thursday and I love this band. I want to be busy and I want to play music and I want to play with my friends. And I get to do all that as a job and as a hobby and as a passion. So I feel really, really, really fucking lucky.
Who initiated that, Ellis Dunes? Because, you know, like it was a text or there was a, you know, DM or something that initiated it.
That was me. I mean, I kind of wanted to do something over the pandemic. You know what I mean? I felt like the music industry was going to die, you know, and we didn't know for how long. And I just thought that this was a good time to keep our skills sharp. You know what I mean? I enjoy the process of writing music. I enjoy the process of memorizing the parts, you know what I mean? And kind of putting it together in my head as I sleep and wake up in the morning and lay down a drum track. You know what I mean? I feel like you need to keep that skill sharp. So I wanted to write music, and you know, I did the band with Frank, Frank Ayer and the Future Violence, and we just worked so well together. And I've known him for 125 years, so it's a natural thing. And then Tim, of course, Tim Payne, our bass player, Thursday's bass player, Ellis Dunes bass player, is just one of the best musicians I've ever played with, and certainly the best bass player. You know, and Travis lives up the road, so he's like the stuff he does with Coheed is ridiculous. He's a ridiculous guitar player. He's just got great music taste, you know, and he's a wonderful human being. And then of course Anthony, you know what I mean? It's like I just really wanted to do a band with all these people separately, you know, and then to have them all together in one band has been like a real dream come true. And it also, you know, it keeps you, again, talking about keeping sharp, you know, these people are monster players. So, you know, I feel like I have to step up my game to play with these people.
Well, it's kind of like in sports, you know, there's super teams, you know, super groups. Like, is there enough basketball to go around? It's, you know, that type of thing. But totally. I mean, the end product has been great. Like Tony said, we've been following it. We love it. Portland, Maine. You know, if you ever want to come up here, we know some people.
Hell yeah.
And you've had no trouble finding your way to Portland in the past. I think we saw you not long after we talked with you. I think you were in Maine late December or late January of 2022. So
yes,
doing the Full Collapse kind of tour across the Northeast in the COVID soup, as we've I think we all got sick right around that time. But man, that was an awesome show, and it was cool to see you and follow along with what you're doing from then to now, and to be able to talk to you again about all the projects and all the things happening around Thursday and LS Tunes.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
Tucker, you ready to time travel?
Let's go.
Because we got a time machine, baby, and you're the experiment.
Right, November 5th, 1955.
Yeah, let's go back.
Wow, that's almost my mom's birthday. So early 2000s, full collapse. We talked about it in the previous episode. Pops off, brought you guys to new heights. That was the era that Tony and I got into you guys. You continue it with 5 Stories Falling, signed to Island. Let's talk right at that point. You're signing to Island. Did 22, 23-year-old Tucker see any of that happening up to that point? Because obviously you kept going to new heights after that. But to that point, it's like not many bands get there.
No, not at all. I mean, I think I told you this on the first episode, that we started this band just to play in Jeff's basement. And again, for those of you who didn't hear the first one, Jeff, our singer, Jeff Rickley, had a basement in New Brunswick where he would put on shows, and the price to get in was like $5. And if you did a can of soup, it was $4 or something like that. I can't remember. And he had everybody from Hot Water Music to At the Drive-In, Saves the Day, you name it. All the bands that were touring would come through and play this tiny basement. And we just wanted to start a band to play in the basement. And that was Thursday. And we never thought that we would do anything other than play in the basement. So everything has been a shock. Even to this day, it's still like, when I get to tell people that, like, oh yeah, like I'm a professional touring musician. They're like, oh, you play locally? I'm like, yes, for fuck's sake, I play. And no, your cousin's fucking cover band.
There you go.
That's great. Yeah. We've heard, obviously, with that story. We talked to you on episode, I think it's 92. So if you haven't listened, if you're here for Tucker, go back and listen to 92. It's a fun trip down memory lane for Full Collapse. But tonight we're doing War All the Time. And it's wild that happened. Like in so many different forms and fashions. It's wild that you guys got to Island, you guys got to the major label, and were able to kind of still be Thursday. Because listen to that record this week in prep to talk to you again. I'm like, this doesn't sound like a ton changed, but you were able to do the Thursday thing, even though you went, major label and had it didn't feel like there's a lot of tinkering, I guess is my punchline there.
No, you're right about that. And it was really scary because that was along the time where people were very quickly wanting to throw out the word sell out this, sell out that. You know what I mean? They don't realize that we were making music for a living, trying to make a living making music. You know what I mean? And when Full Collapse took off, it started like the band took over our entire lives and all of our time. So, when you're out there touring 7-8 months out of the year as a 23-year-old kid, you got to be making money too. You know what I mean? Like, so to sign to Island, we were very scared that people were going to throw out the word sell out, and we were going to lose people that had the band in their back pocket. You know what I mean? Because we are that band. We like being that band in people's back pockets, but we also like being the band that like can go tour with Sick of It All one day and then be on tour with, I don't know, Rival Schools the next. You know what I mean? Like, we pride ourselves on doing that. So it was very scary to go to a major label and make a record that was still us. You know what I mean? Like, we knew what we wanted to do, but we were afraid we were going to get pressured by the powers that be to make a single. You know what I mean? And to like, actually do the sellout thing. But we didn't. We stayed true, and it turned out okay.
Were you surprised major labels took interest from the jump? Because if you look at the Island roster, I think a little changed in early 2000s, but up to that point, like, were you surprised that people were interested in Thursday at that level?
I was, but I wasn't surprised because I knew that our genre was the big thing, the next big thing back then. So all these major labels were trying to sign, the Used, and then Thrice, and then Thursday. So I remember at one point it was like, oh, the Used is like Motley Crue, and you guys, Def Leppard or some shit, and Thrice is Guns N' Roses. That's the kind of shit that people were saying to us. So it was really wild. And you know, do I think they were interested in Thursday just because of Thursday? No, I don't think that. Like looking back, I think that it was a genre of music that we were kind of in the forefront of, that they were looking to snatch up. You know, they were trying to grab the genre.
And that makes sense. Obviously, around that time, there was some money thrown around at that genre, but there had to be some talent too. So you guys are obviously, we're huge fans. We've been listening for 20 plus years. And I think if you clicked on this episode, you're probably in that camp. But you guys, you weren't just, this kind of sellout, this let's pull another similar sounding band in. No, there's some depth there. And this record, I think, certainly shows that, and listening back to it a ton this week. So it took, 2 months? The bulk of the album, you guys wrote it in about 2 months long sessions. Took some time, right?
Yeah, it took some time, and then we were in the studio for a long time too. You know, the making the record actually took a really long time because we did 2 separate sessions. You know what I mean? Because there were songs that were missing on the record that we thought were missing. You know, like it. You know, I think when we went back to record for the second time, we kind of got Division Street out of that session, and we got Signals Over the Air out of that session, and those I feel like are 2 pillars of that record. You know, without those 2 songs, I feel like the record is just it's missing something. It took a long time, and it was a lot of hard work, and the writing sessions were difficult because it was like showing up for a job. You know what I mean? And that's, you're not supposed to do that when you're making art. You're supposed to show up when you're feeling creative. You know what I mean? And do things when you're struck with that creative lightning bolt. You know what I mean? But here we were like, we had all these ideas swimming around, but we were trying to like get them all into one, concise idea. And it was tough. It was tough. And it was a lot of fun, but man, it was work.
Well, cause I think it was you've obviously read Sellout, the book, the Dan Ozzie book.
Yeah.
He mentions that, and I'm sure he fact checked this with you guys, didn't just assume, but 9 takes on drums across 3 different drum kits, three takes across, 3 perfect takes on each. You're probably exhausted. And that's probably like, how does that compare to the Full Collapse sessions?
So, it's weird because Full Collapse, I had fucking strep throat.
Oh, wow.
Real sick. Like, I remember, like, there were more wrappers of cough drops on the floor than there were shards from stick. I don't know if you've seen a drum carpet after a recording session, but it's all pieces of stick, but mine was like hauled wrap.
Wow.
I'm laughing with you, not at you.
No, I know. Hey, you do both. I don't mind it. That was a stamp in history. And I love telling that story because it zaps me back to, like, I remember the night before recording Full Collapse, just being in a bar in the Lower East Side, a bar called 7B, which was called Bazak's, with our producer Sal, and I just started feeling real scratchy. We're sitting at the bar, and I wasn't even drinking. I was just sitting there like, man, I feel like I'm getting sick. And the next day I woke up full blown strep throat. But anyway, war all the time.
Right.
It was crazy, and like I was in decent shape. I felt like I could play multiple takes, but the anguish was more mental. You know what I mean? It's hard enough to get a quote unquote 1 perfect take that lasts a lifetime, but getting 3 perfect takes for each song, and I say perfect with these air quotes because nothing is ever perfect. You know what I mean? It's
right.
As close to humanly acceptable for me and for the producer. That's what I did. And it was gnarly, man. It was really gnarly because you get one under your belt, you kind of get confident, you know what I mean? But then all of a sudden you start getting a little fatigued, and then your brain starts playing tricks on you, and you're under the gun because you want to get it done, because I'm the first one to go. So if I take a week, that's a long time. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get it done in a day. You know what I mean? So I can give my band the time to put the sprinkles on the cake. You know what I mean? To put the fondant on. So yeah, it was gnarly, man. And the mental anguish is the craziest. But I'm really glad I did it. And another crazy thing about the recording of War All the Time is that I did it with no music.
Wow.
It's just a click track. I memorized the songs so much that I just went in, because my band would, somebody would play a little behind the click, somebody would play a little ahead, and I was just like, this is driving me fucking crazy. Everyone out. I'm just gonna play the song by myself. So it was me versus the click, which is not a very fun process.
Was there anything from this kind of this process where you did a lot of takes and you spent a lot of time trying to get perfection for each track that you took from it and continued to use today? Or is it that was, we did it that one way one time, I'm not doing it that way again?
I mean, I definitely did it that way. And I don't know that I would want to do that again, just because I feel like, and I don't think this happened with all the time. I think the record has feel, and I think it's got all the elements that it needed to have. But I definitely feel like if I were to do this again and again and practice just playing to a click by myself, it would get very mechanical and lose feeling. You know what I mean? Like, I was still young back then. I still had that nervous energy. I was still fucking pissed off, like pissed off hardcore punk kid. So I was, I was playing on the click, but I was meandering around it a little bit. I just feel like when you become a slave to it, to a point where you're trying to get like perfectly square beats, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't, I think that it could have lost feeling. So would I do it again? If I had to, if a producer asked me to, you know what I mean? If it was for a pop gig or something like that, yeah, probably. But it wasn't my favorite thing to do.
So pretty extensive. I think it was like 2.5 weeks for your drums, 6 months to record, a lot of experimenting, a lot of maybe overanalyzing, like long drawn out sessions. Was there ever a time where you were like, guys, this isn't what we started? Like, this is so far from Jeff's basement. Was there any of that? Like, you start sprinkling in like, first week projections and major labels and all that. Was there any of that?
No, I mean, I can't speak for the other guys, but for me, I like that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I want to progress. I wanted the band to move forward. I wanted this to become my job. I wanted to go on tour with the Foo Fighters. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted all that stuff. I didn't want to be like a rock star. Like, I don't know what that is, or what that is made up of, but I definitely wanted to show people that like the choice that I made in life was a good choice and that I could live by it and be proud of it. And the major label thing was just a way to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because at that time there wasn't a way to really, that was the only place we could go to remain being a band. And, I wanted to make the best of that, if that's what we had to do. And it turned out to be a good thing. We loved everybody who we signed with, and, everybody's really kind to us. I still talk to some of these people today, like Eric Wong, who we worked with. He got me the job playing for the boy band, which is crazy. And that was a huge part of my career after Thursday was playing for this boy band that kept my career moving forward. Even though I wasn't with my band, I was still playing music and still in front of people and still getting experiences, still learning, and still being able to take a back seat to the actual stars in front of me. You know what I mean?
Well, and it allows you a connection, right? I mean, you're on the major, it gets you in the, in the mouths of some other people that maybe you didn't get a chance to talk to or know, and that puts you, with a boy band, which is wild. Like,
Yep.
You definitely didn't think I would imagine you didn't think you were going to get there, starting in Jeff's basement. So,
No.
But amazing you were able to, right? You get to keep doing what you love and what you want to do. And without kind of this happening the way it did, you probably wouldn't have gotten there.
Exactly. And I love playing drums, man. I love the nuts and bolts of the drum. I could tell you everything about every drum kit I have. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy that shit. I'm like a gear nerd, when it comes to that. And if I have to play a pop song, I'll play a pop song. If I have to play the hardest Thursday song there is, I'll play it. You know what I mean? I love it.
So writing process, you have that, we'll call it the second writing session in like Division Street, and I think Signals and this song come out of that. Was Signals always the clear single?
I think so. Because I feel like that was the thing that was missing, was a song that the label could use as a lead track. And I say lead track because we were a hardcore band. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't really know how to write a single or what that really meant at the time, So to write a song like that, like, and that song was like kicking around. That riff was kicking around during the session. You know what I mean? It wasn't like someone's like, oh, we got to write a single. Like, let's think of this riff. It was there. We just didn't tackle it, And then when we knew we needed a sort of lead song, that's the one we chose to go to. And it's still kind of a fan favorite today, and it's definitely not a heavy song. It's, but it still is Thursday, but I'm really proud of that song.
Oh, totally. And it's catchy as hell. I mean, that riff is awesome. And I bet a lot of people, I know actually a friend of mine, Josh, who I work with, I told him we were talking to you tonight. He went to the show with us a couple years ago. I think that was his introduction to you guys because he's a little younger than we are. So he didn't have Full Collapse in high school like we did. So he was very, very much into War all the time and then went backwards to the other stuff. But yeah, so you snag some people that way too, for sure.
Which is part of it, you know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to kind of be known, whether it's a household name or not, you know what I mean? You still need to do things that get you, like for example, Cross Out the Eyes on the Victory sampler. That was a lot of people's gateway to Thursday too. You know what I mean? It wasn't just understanding in a car crash being on TV. It was Cross Out the Eyes being on this fucking sampler that got passed out of Warped Tour, shit like that. You know what I mean? Like you need that song to get heard. And if you want to play music for a living and you want to move forward, and keep doing it, you have to be heard somehow. Whether people like it or not, that's up to them. But being heard definitely helps your cause.
And I would say in the history of major label debuts, like that's the most non-single ever. You know what I mean? It is Thursday. There's no, like we say that, it's catchy and it's got a hook, whatever, but it doesn't bend or sacrifice at all. The album does not at all. You could have put this on any, not to harp on the label, but you defied conventional wisdom and like you defied physics with this album.
Totally. I mean, I appreciate you saying that because again, we were a hardcore band. You know what I mean? We were a band that liked doing things our way. We definitely had to thumb wrestle a lot of people about a lot of things, but we, one of the things we are proud of till this day is our integrity, and staying the band that we are, you know what I mean? Because essentially that's what people fell in love with Thursday to begin with, was because of what the band had sounded like. So,
well, it's great that you were able to keep, like we said at the beginning, that you were able to keep the Thursday kind of ethos and the sound without too much, changeover when going to the major label, because that can certainly happen. We've seen it a million times with bands. They go from, they're the it thing, they hit the major label, and then the sound is just not the same band. And you're like, ooh, what happened here? And maybe it's good, and maybe it's a progression for them, but it doesn't always work where you guys had a progression with this record, but it also sounds like Thursday. And it's awesome that you were able to do that. And it sounds like it wasn't much struggle to get there.
It wasn't, it was, like I said, there was a little bit of, back and forth, but for the most part, the record was the record. You know what I mean? Like it was, and we were really, really proud of it. We worked our asses off to make it. And it's funny because we did those Full Collapse shows and they were amazing, and playing songs that are 20 something years old was fun. And we've done a couple of War All the Time shows, and it's really fun to play those songs and really fun to play them. I try to do them the same way that they were written. You know what I mean? I don't try to add extra stuff, because when I see a band play, especially songs that I know, I don't want the singer to change the cadence. I don't want the guitar player to do some crazy lead. I want to hear the fucking fills that are on the record. I want to air drum all that part. I want to air guitar, and I want to sing along in time with the way it is on record, just because that's how, that's the snapshot.
So on round one with you, when we talked Full Collapse, we talked the signature Tucker double snare tap at the beginning of Understanding, and you planted the seed in our heads that like you've used that in other projects and other, so we
Tucker, you've been in my head for 2 years, man. I've been thinking about this with all the shit that I listen to.
Love that.
So I never thought of, like we said, never thought about until then, like that maybe you planted those seeds in other songs and other projects. Well, Tony, we have a chat going, text chain. He's like, I think the Tucker taps are in the beginning of Steps Ascending, like before it kind of picks up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's it. Like, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it's in there.
For me, it is intentional.
Ooh,
nice.
Good call.
Let's
Tony.
go.
I mean, I've used it. I used it on the LS Dunes record too. I used it on Past Lives. It's a thing that I think it's fun and funny to do. Like it's if I could fit it in, it's I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Because I'm no better than I used to be. You know what I mean? As far as that, like I like where I came from, and I like the drums that I did before, and I want to rip myself off.
Hell yeah, that's great.
I love that.
That's it. That's great.
Are you surprised we sniffed that out, or?
No, Yes, I surprised no, because I feel like we really touched on that on episode 92. Go back and listen to it. And so I'm not surprised, but I appreciate it.
Well, and the other thing you said to us that night was that you kind of follow the guitar versus, your standard kind of stay with the bass, live in that world. And I've listened to, every time I put Thursday on since, I've listened to hear you follow the guitar, and I'm always like, oh, there it is. Yep, there it is. And it's just changed my listening experience, which, thank you. It's opened up new, different, thought processes and ways to kind of get through records and be, think about it in a different way.
Dude, I love that. That makes me so happy.
Yeah, we geek out about that stuff. Let's talk some songs. So Steps Ascending, get the signature double tap. We love us some Jonah. And I was yesterday years old when I realized Jonah does the giving up, I was, once I saw he was featured, I'm like, I wonder if I'll be able to pick it out. And I'm listening to the song, I'm like, I don't hear it. And there it is, like the voice of an angel.
Absolutely.
And how did that come about? Because I know you guys knew him. I know there's the Hellfest DVD of doing the Mother Mary and all that, but
we are huge Far fans.
There you go.
Modern Solutions is one of the best records of all time, and it's just, he's one of our musical heroes, you know what I mean? And we basically like made that part for him, you know what I mean? So I don't think he had a choice on whether to say.
I love that. Hey, Jonah, this is you, actually. We need you for this.
Fan of Far that it just, we had to have it. And he's such a graceful human being, and like you said, we did Mother Mary with him a bunch of times, and that was so much fun. And I don't know, it's so rad when you can like ask your heroes to like help you out with something and they show up. It's the coolest thing.
Can confirm he is one of the nicest guys ever. We've had him on the podcast, and then he played Portland, Maine back in July of 2023, and we met him and talked to him for almost a half an hour, Anthony. Like he is such a nice guy, and he's fucking phenomenal performer.
That motherfucker will go up there and play a whole set and then go outside and play another set.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just he's like a little boy, like he loves music and he loves performing. It's great, because you can see it.
Next song, not in sequence, but For the Workforce Drowning. So 17-year-old me, when I hear this, I'm like, yeah, work sucks, and I'm like,
39-year-old me says that today. So
I can't relate, but I love the song, and I understand where Jeff's coming from, and I get it. And now 20 years removed, pushing 40, I'm like, he was spitting back then, and I got it, but I didn't really get it. So obviously, standout track. That was the first song released. Was that intentional to kind of lead with maybe something a little heavier?
Yes. We wanted to lead with a little piss and vinegar. You know what I mean? Like, Thursday's a heavy band. If we're going to do a major label record, we got to come out swinging. You know what I mean? And we wanted to come out swinging. And it's funny because I played that song. I recorded that song without any context of what it was about.
Wow. That's wild to me.
Lyrics were, didn't know what the melodies were. You know what I mean? I just knew the parts. And, so it's funny because I didn't have the meaning of the song when I recorded it. So it's kind of funny, like to think about it that way. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if I would have made me play it differently. Probably not. But it's just funny because it is kind of a little bit of an angry song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it definitely, the music sounds angry too, and the drum sound. So I think it all somehow, our band, we're connected like that. You know what I mean? We don't really need to talk about it as much as we just need to do it.
Has that happened a lot over the course of, just the life of Thursday, where you maybe didn't know a ton going in?
Yeah, a lot of the songs, we don't know what the melodies are, the vocals, or even the lyrics before, they're set in stone. Before like I'll finish my drum part, I'll finish the record, and then I will hear the record for the first time. You know what I mean? Like I've heard the guitar parts, I've heard the bass, but I will hear the vocals and the melodies for the first time.
Wow.
So I'm try to dial it back. Was there a time in this whole session where you heard something for the first time and you were like, well, shit, we did that? Like, how did we do that?
Yeah, I mean, this has happened to me on every record I've done, but you always just it when you hear the finished product or the finished song, it's like it's very emotional. Like it could be the worst song in the world and it'll still blow my mind. You know what I mean? Because it's a fucking song. And that record specifically, War All the Time, front to back, I remember I could not believe what we accomplished. And I still can't, you know what I mean? I still listen to that record and I'm still like, wow, I can't fucking believe we did that.
That's so cool to hear you say that, and it's not. It doesn't feel like disingenuous. Like I'm looking at you. You definitely feel like this is. I'm really proud of this, and you should be because it. I mean, we're still talking about it 20 years on. So the fact that you're into it makes me feel better about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Like the recording, like this writing process was so dense. You know what I mean? Like it was so fucking dense. Like we would show up every day and we were like we forced ourselves to write and really try to trim the fat and do the best we could. And then the recording process for me was so like arduous. You know what I mean? It was fucking insane. It was like a war, no pun intended. And so the record is just very dense, and you can feel it. It's like again, there was so many things going on and so many things happening in the world too that were all fucked up. So yeah, I'm really proud of it.
I remember the day I bought it. I got it the day it came out. I had walked into our local record store and I was there to pick up, I think, Perfect Circle, 13th Step, I think came out on the same day. So I was going through it. I was like, oh, a new Thursday record too? Yes, I'm in. And I, not as 18, 19-year-old me, not as in tune with when stuff's coming out, not looking up release dates. The internet isn't nearly as, good at that as it is today. But I was like, oh man, I'm going through it today. I'm going to listen to these two records back to back and just, leave me alone for the next couple hours.
I pre-ordered it through, I think, Island, and they had a lithograph. You probably know what I'm talking about. A lithograph that came with it. Don't crucify me, but I've since sold it. It was a hot ticket on eBay. But it's gorgeous. It was the whole layout of the CD booklet, and it had like almost like a photo negatives and stuff. Like it was really cool.
I love that record, and I have a lithograph. I'm lucky enough that I got one. But, yeah, I love the art. And that's the thing too. It's like the artwork's important too. You know what I mean? Like it was the whole thing really came together, and I couldn't be more proud of it.
So when I read the chapter in Sellout, there was it almost painted the picture like there were almost mixed opinions of the record from the band, and it's probably on the heels of just it being so rigorous and so exhausting. Like, do you remember? Were you guys just sick of it at that point, or? And I'm not saying that's your voice, but you just spoke very highly of it. But was that always the case where you were like, we love this record?
Yeah, I think we never didn't love the record, but I definitely think it was a stressful time for all of us. All the pressure of a major, all the pressure of like presenting a record in that light, with that much pressure and people banking on it and all this shit. I don't think we ever didn't like it, but I do know when things take a long time, like when you finish a song and then there's another 6 months before it's actually finished.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a long time. Like even with, not to bring up LS Tunes again, but even with Past Lives, like I wasn't able to talk about it with you last time. Those songs to me were almost already old by the time we were having a conversation, not talking about it. You know what I mean? So it's hard to like, you love the record so much, but then there's this whole other world that has to happen before anyone else hears it. And by the time that people hear it, you're already like writing new music. You know what I mean? So it's.
And doing this now for almost 4 years and hearing that story from numerous musicians, I'm always like, how you guys are really good actors to be able to kind of hold it back and hold it back and hold it back. And then, okay, it's press time. We're going to go. Like you've got to be able to do all of those things and be able to kind of keep things under wraps, and you got to be good, not liars per se. You're not a liar, but you know what I mean? Like you just got to kind of keep things close to the vest, and when it's time. But I'd be so like, look what I did. This is fucking amazing.
Oh, but there's this other part of it that it feels like you're in a little gang. You know what I mean? Like you got your own like little politics. You know what I mean? Your own little world that you're like, yeah, like we're scheming.
That's awesome. Yeah. Wait till they see what we got. It's coming. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Tucker, we were 2 of the 74,000, not 100, 100,000 copies that sold the first week. I know we read about the bet and everything. I can't even imagine being in a position where, like, you know, you're creeping up to 100,000 sales first week. Like, was it a pinch me moment, or was it like, who are we fooling? Was it like, we deserve every sale? Like, where was your head at?
Man, I in that moment, it's just pure shock. You know what I mean? Because you literally have no idea. You know, there's this whole hype beast behind you, you know, and you're just a kid playing drums, or just a kid with a microphone, or a kid with a guitar. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to make music, right? Because, like, you can literally, you're making this baby, right? And then some people literally tell you to your face that it's ugly. You know what I mean? Or they hate it. That's these songs are kids to us. You know, these records are like family to us, and people are so, you know how you feel about it, but it still hurts when people say what they think they need to say about it. You know, so I don't know how that answers the question, because it doesn't really. But I remember not knowing what it was going to do, because you have all these people telling you all these different things. Nirvana, you know, you're the next Guns N' Roses, you're whatever, this, that, you know, and you're like, well, is it going to be 1 million records first week? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
am I rich? I don't know. You know, 74,000 the first week. Hopefully it does 74,000 the second week. It never does 74,000 the second week.
No, you're right. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, 74,000, that's the fucking food chain. And then it's like, woo.
Well, now it doesn't do 74,000 any week unless you're Taylor Swift. So
Yeah.
it's a completely different world, obviously, 20 years out to have that stuff. Those numbers are wild, and that time frame was wild, because that was the way you did it, right? You went to the record store, or you pre-ordered it from somebody. And even, I mean, Anthony, you told me that you pre-ordered it, and I was like, how? Like, I don't even know how I would have done that in 2003, 2004. That's wild.
The interwebs.
Because some record stores, you know, you bought one record, it counted as 7. You know what I mean? Some record stores, you buy it and it counted just as 1 record. You know what I mean? It's like there were all these different ways to make up the amount of records you were buying. Not make up, like, fibbing about it, but, like, you know, like, I don't even know how it worked. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. But it was crazy. Like, SoundScan was like a huge thing back then. Like, you were really tracking the numbers. Now we just don't even look at it.
Yeah. Now it's all about the streams and,
yeah,
you know, the
and
percentage.
At least listening to 30 seconds so that it counts as a stream. And yeah.
Dude, it's crazy.
So, Tucker, we're big fans of Jeff, obviously, and, like,
Thanks.
We're huge Thursday fans, and you hear At This Velocity lyric in Tomorrow I'll Be You, and then the next album, you know, there's a song called At This Velocity on A City by Light Divided. Like, does that stuff, do you geek out about that stuff, or, like, where are you at with, like, those Easter eggs and things like that?
I love that shit, man, and I think that's part of his brilliance. It's like, you never know what's gonna come out of his mouth. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I don't know, the kid's got a gift. You know, he's just got a gift, and I'd follow the end of the earth for real. Like, I trust everything that he says. You know, creatively. You know, it's always been about that. You know what I mean? Like, he's a fucking star.
And he shows up on this album. Like, there's, even from, you know, for the workforce, you know, please someone teach me how to swim. When I first heard that, chills. When I listened to it tonight, chills. Like, it just, the guys, he was put on earth to do this, probably among a million other things, but, like, this could be his best showing.
Dude, I get chills playing that song, staring at his butt crack.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you play harder and hit harder, because that's the moment in that song. Like, that lyric, that's the moment. That's when the whole shit hits the fan. You know, so it's
crazy.
We could, you know, I guess I'm just saying that, like, we in the band connect with that as well, just like you do.
That's cool.
That's so rad. Yeah. Like, 17-year-old me is geeked. 40-year-old me is even more geeked. Like, you'd think I would have outgrown this shit, but no.
Right. Same. But I mean, at the same time, like, just to see you guys, we saw it in person almost 2 years ago in Portland when you came through, and I think that night the sound or something went down, right? And Jeff just kind of took over.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, and we were all like, what's going to happen? And then he was like, nah, I got this, guys. We're good. And the whole place was just like, holy shit. Like, what is happening right now? So it's cool that you're as geeked on that stuff as we are, because we love that shit.
dude. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. You got to get moved by your own art, and if you're not, you're a fucking tourist.
Album's out, hype cycle's real. You're promoting it. Late show, late show. Did you guys see any of that coming?
No, like especially the Conan one. You know, the Conan one was. I remember Max came to a show at what was then Roseland Theater in New York City, and I lost my fucking mind because he was there, and because his son Jay was a fan. We were talking after the show, and I was like, "Oh man, we'd love to play Conan," and like literally like a week later, we were playing Conan.
That's so cool.
And all those late night shows, and I did a bunch of Thursday, and then I did a lot, throughout my career with other bands, and it's your hands are like, it's like somebody poured like lube on your hands while trying to hold drumsticks. It's so nerve wracking. You know what I mean? It's because there's eyeballs on you, and they're tough.
Yeah,
they're fun, but they're tough.
The Conan one is always killer to me, especially looking back on it now, because everything's been clipped and put on YouTube or put on Twitter or wherever, right? And you see just these performances, and you're like, all these bands came through Conan, and you guys being one of them. And it had to be Max, right? I mean, that makes complete sense. Max being in the industry, knowing a bunch of people, that makes sense to me. That the light bulb just went off. I was always wondering, how did all these bands find their way into Conan, and that makes sense to me. And it's got to be wild just to, like, you've got what, 4 minutes, go play your song, you better crush it, that's it, it's over, there's no second take, peace out.
Yeah, because you're part of the show. You know what I mean? Like they don't care if you don't feel good. They don't care if you don't feel like doing it or whatever. You're nervous. It's like you're part of the show. You have 4 minutes. That's the block of their show. You know what I mean? Like on live television, you have to do the thing. They expect you to do the thing.
It's so crazy. And you were on the Late Show with Craig Kilborn, and he compared you to Metallica and U2. You probably remember that. And he was like, and the first time I heard that, I was like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
That's not fair.
But now that I think about it, if you did like an AI engine and threw in the Metallica catalog and U2, like the middle wouldn't be too far off from Thursday. Think about it. Craig was onto something.
You know what? Yes. Yes. In a very weird world. Yeah. U2, maybe. U2, because I know, like, Jeff especially, a huge U2 fan. I actually, dude, it's funny. I just played Vegas with Dunes on a Pierce the Veil tour, and I went to the Sphere. One of the Dunes fans was nice enough to get us all into the Sphere, and I'm sitting there, and I posted an Instagram story about it. All of a sudden, I get a text message from Jeff. He's like, "Yo, are you at the Sphere?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "I'm at the Sphere."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had flown out for his girlfriend's birthday. His parents flew him out the night before to go see U2 at the Sphere, and he said it was fucking amazing. But the next night, when we were there together, we were seeing the movie, which was like something about Earth. I forget what the movie was even called. I'm blanking right now. But like, I literally was like, "You're here," and like I called him. I'm like, "Yo, I'm in section 207." He's like, "I'm in 307," which was like a tier above us. And he comes down, and I'm just waving to him on the phone. It was fucking crazy. He's like, "Yo, this is the strangest like coincidence." But yeah, U2. He's a huge U2.
How was it?
The place is ridiculous.
Yeah. I feel like sensory overload, but like I need it.
I can't imagine seeing U2 in there. It's got to be fucking ridiculous. He said it was like amazing. The girl that got us in said it was like life changing seeing U2. So I was bummed that I couldn't see U2, but I'm glad I got to experience at least the movie. It was like a Darren Aronofsky 50-minute film. It was fucking crazy.
So Tucker, we're 20 years out from the album. If you let us, we'd talk about this album for the next 2 or 3 hours, but we're not going to do that. As you look back, is there anything that you would have changed about the album or the whole process or anything like that?
I mean, no, because I love the way it is. I really do, and I think that it did something that it needed to do, and it was definitely a screenshot of the time, and but I mean, thinking about it, if I really thought about changing something, I think we would have taken a little more time to write, maybe kind of taken a step back, taking a breath from it, and maybe used, you figure 2 months of writing and 6 months of recording, that's 8 months. I would have used the 6 months of writing and 2 months recording. Maybe that would have been the only thing I would have changed. Because it's so hard to not want to change things when you have all the time in the world to change them. You know what I mean? And sometimes you go with your gut and leave it the way that it was intended, or sometimes you fucking go down the rabbit hole of being like, oh my God, and then you fucking undid this whole thing, and then you can't get back to that same feeling, which I don't think happened, but I'm pretty sure it happened. It was close to happening at some points.
So you're going out on tour the end of January with Rival Schools and Many Eyes, and it's a callback to our first episode. I know Anthony's got to show regret not getting to see you guys with Rival Schools and There Were Wires 20 some odd years ago. So now there's a chance, Anthony. I think we might need to head down to Boston, man.
So Tucker, did we influence that tour? The answer is yes, we did.
The answer, yes.
No, it's stacked, man. That tour.
It's called Tour All the Time, right?
Yes, that's amazing.
I mean, honestly, the fact that you guys, Rival Schools, and obviously Many Eyes wasn't around back then, but the fact that you two are still around, it's like a lot had to go right in the last 20 years for that to happen, and it did. And you guys, it's crazy.
Dude, we were at Furnace Fest, and Walter was there with Youth of Today and Gorilla Biscuits. It's like I've seen like Walter and Sammy in so many forms of their bands, but not Rival Schools lately. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, oh, I can't wait to do that Rival Schools tour with you. You know what I mean? It's like they're there with Youth of Today or fucking Gorilla Biscuit. It's just crazy how it's like finally get to do this tour again. And obviously with Many Eyes with Keith's new band. You know what I mean? It was like we loved Every Time I Die. We love Keith. We love the rest of the band. You know what I mean? So we're psyched.
Well, I'm going to call back again. Right before War All the Time came out, the summer, July 2003, you guys came through Portland, and Every Time I Die played. It was the Every Time I Die, Stretch Armstrong, Norma Jean, This Day Forward, that extravaganza. So you guys go way back.
Yeah.
With Keith.
Yeah. It's funny because all these bands, and I said this back in the day when War All the Time was coming out, we came up with all these people, like we knew everybody who was on TV and getting signed to majors and all this stuff. We knew the Chris Carrabba's, we knew the Saves the Day, we knew all these bands that were like in the hot seat. And I'm not saying that to gloat. I'm just saying we all came from fucking basements, dude. We all came from CBGBs, and shit like that. We lived the life, we slept on floors. We did the whole thing, to get to buses. All these bands, even now, when we play when we were young, it's like seeing people I haven't seen in 20 years, but we're all doing the same thing still. It's rad. It's
awesome. And we love it because we get to talk to people like you and get to promote stuff like that. The tours with, Rival Schools and Many Eyes, or the tour, the When We Were Youngs. And it's been really fun to be able to connect with you again on this phenomenal record, and excited for all that's coming for you, with Thursday and with LS Tunes. And yeah, man, 2024 is gonna be big.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you guys asking me to do this again. I had a lot of fun the first time, and it's been even better this time. So I appreciate it. And thanks for giving a shit.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're the geeks that held on to these posters 20 years later. We'll see you on the 20-year tours. Like we said, the album still hit us. We've been listening to War All the Time for the last 20 years, and a lot of the last, couple of weeks since, we confirm we're gonna have you on. And not only does it hold up, I'm like, hot damn, like if this came out now, it'd be the biggest fucking record on the planet. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And you guys defied physics. That's obviously the wrong word, but you defied everything. Like this album, how you guys got Island to sign off on this is crazy, because you did not sacrifice an ounce. And that's my opinion. I think a lot of people would back that.
I appreciate it, because we definitely didn't. And we did the same thing with A City by the Light Divided. You know what I mean? Like we tried to remain the same band and take it in a different direction that might have been even further from what people wanted. People in the industry, that is,
Man, awesome.
I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me again.
Oh man, we really appreciate talking with you again, and we'd love to do it again down the line.
I'm here.
Awesome.
City by Light Divided. When that come out? Oh, it was 05, 06?
Shit, now I don't even know.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see in
that
2
world.
years. We'll see.
Or when the next Dunes records comes out, and we could do that too.
I could do that too. After World of Time came out, like, to me, World of Time and Full Collapse are weird. You know what I mean? Like, they're the two that are so substantial in my mind that I don't even remember the other ones. I love the other ones just as much, but those two are such like there's such fond memories of all that shit that those are the two those are the years that I remember.
Hell yeah. Thank you for listening to Podioslave. We are at Podioslave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podioslave Podcast. YouTube, Podioslave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.